Hello and welcome to Uncut and Unfiltered Cosmetology Insights with Nathan Shaw, where we help aspiring and current beauty professionals master the business and craft of cosmetology so that they can build successful, long-lasting careers. Your guide, as usual, is Nathan Shaw. He's a dedicated educator and working man's hairdresser who successfully built his schools from his earnings from behind the chair. And now he generously shares his deep industry experience to challenge misconceptions and to teach you the crucial skills you need to manage your career. Today, we're going to talk about something that every stylist can participate in, and a lot of customers and clients do, but it's really a mystery to a lot of people unless they're in the industry, and that is product sold at the salon. So, Nathan, looking forward to getting the lowdown and some deep insight from your many years of industry experience about product and all things about it.
Thanks. Glad to be here and talk about that.
So first of all, do you remember a time when product wasn't, up front and center? Did they add it later on? Has it always been part of the salon experience?
I don't know that it's always been part of the salon experience. Most of my career, it has been. I feel like it's been a focus for at least as long as I've been in the industry, which is, approaching 25 years. Maybe it is 25 years now.
Yeah.
But it definitely, it's become a very competitive marketplace for product. There's a lot of product lines out there, and ultimately, it's always been a way for a salon to basically stay profitable, right? To help the actual salon itself stay in business.
Interesting. Well, let's take a big step back, 10,000-foot view. What we're talking about is specifically lines of product that are sold at the salon. My experience in different salons is it's very prominent when you walk in. It's a very beautiful or well laid out, thoughtful display. They're grouped right by product group, not by not all the shampoos are together. It's more like this brand has its space, and you sort of have those in groups. So you said that they actually can make the difference between being profitable and not profitable for a salon. Tell me more about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So, one thing about our industry, I don't really know whether you want to call it a dark, little dirty secret, but most salons are not profitable. And that's, there's multiple reasons for that. A big one is I think a lot of salons are opened by stylists with not a great business plan, but just a desire to do their own thing. And so they don't really think about how do the numbers work to make sure the business itself is profitable. That being said, they'll stay open because those salons have, stylist owners that are in there working. And so they'd have to work somewhere anyhow, and whether that's pay rent or whatever. But as far as the business itself being profitable, a lot of them aren't. And a lot of that has to do with the commission percentages or the pay structure for the stylists. And by the time those are paid, it's really hard to have the business be profitable. Like one thing to think about with the salon industry that's a little unique is every person in there really can only service one guest at a time, right?
Sure.
It's
Sure.
not like a restaurant where they might have 5 to 6 tables, and at those tables there's 2 to 7 people or 8 people.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
literally servicing one guest at a time, and so if you have 6 stylists, really the most they can have is 6 people. Whereas if you go into a retail store, you might have 6 employees and there's 80 people in the store, right?
Right. Right.
So yeah, product is one of the ways that helps that business stay profitable.
Okay. So when we think about product, how does the product find its way into a salon?
Multiple ways. I think that the main way is there's a lot of, product reps, or there's just distributors and educators. They're all fighting for market share. They want salons to carry their product because that's how they sell and make a profit themselves, right? And a lot of times I'd say that's the main way, is they're going out and trying to sell the salon or convince the salon on why they are the best option for their guests. And depending on the salon, you're going to have different approaches, right? Some salons are going to carry multiple different product lines, or just multiple or different SKUs, different products from different product lines, just their favorites. And you're going to have some that are more specific or unique, like we're specifically aligned with this product line. We only carry their products.
Gotcha.
And
Gotcha.
and they'll do that for different reasons. Sometimes it helps when they do that, they'll get better education opportunities from the product line company. They might have,
If they're exclusive. Yeah.
yeah, like a points or a kickback system where it's like, hey, if you sell this much, we're gonna send an educator out to your salon, or we'll give you tickets to some of our hands-on education at our, at our headquarters, et cetera. Things that's going to help the salon technically as well, and then obviously try to enhance the profitability of the salon.
And we're going to talk about this later in today's show, but part of the reason that you would suggest a specific product is because of a specific need of your client. So it's not
Yes.
just, hey, I'm making $2 on this one or $4 on this one, so I'm going to sell the $4 one. It is about helping the client ultimately, right?
Absolutely.
So let's talk about the products a little bit more. When you go work at a salon, a lot of people listening to the show are newer to the business. When you go work at a salon, what should your expectation be, or how should you approach product? If there's 6 different product lines, is part of your job as you get in there to go, hey, I need to figure out how these different product lines work with different situations, different clients, and then how important is it to like start to try to sell that stuff right away?
Yeah, that's a great couple questions. I think the most important thing is you as a stylist need to learn how to use the products correctly and understand what the product is for. Meaning, if it's a product to fight frizz, how to use that. Like if you're in a humid climate and people's hair gets frizzy, they want to, you need to know when to recommend it, how to use it, how much to use, right? And so a lot of that self-educating yourself and getting your hands in the product is what I say. And that literally means working with it, right? Putting it
Right.
in different people's hair, seeing what it works for. And then the more you do that, you start to get an understanding like, hey, this product is great for this hair type or for this hair need or outcome. And then the flip side of that is like, you really need to do it right away. And I've seen this over and over, and I'll be the first to admit I was the same way. When I came out of hair school, I was like, oh, I'm not a salesman. I'm not here to sell product. I do hair. But like at the end of the day, every client that sits in your chair, they use product at home. Whether
All
it's
of them.
all
All
of
of
them,
them. All of
whether
them.
whether it's they shampoo it only or and that's going to be the very bare minimum. But a lot of I think women in particular use shampoo, conditioner, maybe some type of blow dry styling product, maybe a hairspray or a volumizer, a curl enhance. They might have 3 to 6 products they use in their hair every time
Yeah.
they do their hair.
Yeah.
So they're using the product. You need to be able to know what's best for them.
So very early on, a way you could separate yourself, maybe even for other stylists, that your level of experience is to just go, hey, I'm going to, and when I have downtime, I'm going to go learn more about these products. What's the best way to do that? Is there education online, or is it talk to the other stylists? What's the best way to do that?
Yeah, I think it's a multi-tiered approach. If you don't have a lot of clients already, which you're not going to start out with a lot, it's asking other stylists like why they use a product, what they like about it, what type of hair it's good for. All of the product lines usually have some type of education you can find, whether it's online or in some of their, they'll have, a lot of times brochures or educational materials for the salon if you carry the product.
Okay.
And some it's just use it in your own hair if you have to, see what it does.
Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah, but it's just
Yeah.
getting your hands in it and educating yourself as much as possible.
How much product, or is product ever given to stylists to use so that, is the rep going to say, hey, here's a bottle of this because I want you to start using it on your clients? I'm thinking about myself. When I get done getting a cut, they're like, do you want product? And like that's what they'll ask. Do you want some product? And it's funny because they don't ask me which one. They just say, do you want some product? And then if I say yes, they'll put product in my hair. And I think it's pretty obvious. Like the goal is for me to go, oh, that's really nice. I like how that looks. And they go, would you like some? So what's the progression for how do they get their hands on it? Literally, as you said.
Are you referring to the guest or the client?
Yeah. I'm sorry, for the stylist, how are they going to get are they given product to use because the rep is like, hey, I want you to sell our product, so here's a bottle of each one of these so you can use them on your client. You know,
So,
how go ahead.
oh no, I apologize for cutting you off. But yeah, they might give you a sample or two to start out with, a bottle or two of something when they're trying to get you to carry their product. But ultimately, the salon, or if it's an individual stylist that's self-employed, you do have to purchase the product. When you do it at cost, we call it in the industry like back bar cost. Meaning like the product you use on your guest. A lot of times they'll give you a discount on that because they know you're using it on your guests, and hopefully, if you use it correctly, you're going to sell more of their product anyhow. But there is a cost to that, to either the salon or the stylist.
Okay, gotcha. So, you ask maybe around, hey, what are your favorite products? Which ones work best with your clients? You find, 4 or 5, and you start to use them. What is the income potential? And then we're going to talk about how to actually get a client to use them. Okay. So what is the income potential? What are the financials behind product?
I think a pretty common industry standard I see, and again, I'm going to say this is common. It's not the hard, fast rule. Is most of the time as a stylist, you're going to get about 10% of the sales price as a commission if you sell it. And, depending on the product you sell, I've had guests that, they came in for a service that maybe the service was $150, but they leave with a 300, or $350 in product because they buy a bunch of things. And literally you spend most of your time doing that service. And then, if you're talking about the product and they know what they want, or if they know what they want already, would it take you 2 minutes to grab the products off the shelf and ring them up? And I mean,
it feels like a $35 tip.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a nice tip.
Yeah, exactly. And so it's probably your most profitable, not probably, it is your most profitable time spent in the salon, because going back to what I said, every client can only service one guest at a time, but ringing up product takes very little time. A haircut might take 45 minutes or an hour, and ringing up product takes what, 120 seconds, 2 minutes,
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So let's assume that you've learned the products and that you are, you're starting to recommend them to guests. Let's talk about some of the practical ways to talk about product with guests that doesn't feel salesy, that feels like this is what's going to help you enjoy your hair more. It's going to accentuate, it's going to add longevity to the look that we've been able to do, because every client's had the same experience where you go to the salon and you get done and then you walk out and it never ever looks that good again, right?
Yeah.
And they're like, what is the magic that you have, Nathan? Because it's like you put your hands in it and it comes out looking this way, and I put my hands in it, never, but it might be the product, right? It might be because I use this product. You need to use this product. So what are ways that you would encourage stylists to start to think about the product sales? And then what are some practical ways, and we can talk through these, of sort of the talk? How do you talk about them in a way that's not like, are you going to buy something, or you should really buy this, So let's talk about that.
Well, the first thing as far as how to think about it is you have to get away from you're being a salesman mentality. At the end of the day, you've got to shift your thinking to like, you're servicing your guest, and part of that service is giving them professional recommendations because you're the professional on what's going to be best for their hair needs, right? I think of it like I've had sinus infections a lot in my life, right? And I remember going to the doctor, get treated for it, get an antibiotic, get it cleared up. And I finally found a doctor that like really broke down why I was getting them, what I needed to be doing at home, how I can kind of avoid them. I'm sold on that doctor, right? I'm loyal to him because he literally educated me on how I can avoid them in the future rather than just like treat them every once in a while when they come up.
Right.
And we're doing the same thing for our guests. It's like, we're not trying to just sell them. We're like, hey, this is what you like I said, they're all using product at home. Here's what's going to be the best for you. And as far as how they start talking about them, I think really, again, to get out of like, you're not a salesman, but it really starts in the consultation. if you're having a proper consultation with a guest and talking about like how they, what their home care routine is with their hair, what they're doing, you're going to get some signals right there of like, hey, are they willing to, it may even steer where the service is going, but like, do they use product at home? Are they willing to use product? Are they just want to wash and wear and get out the door? By knowing those things and kind of what the maintenance and upkeep of the style they're wanting is, you're going to start talking about what that looks like before you ever even start.
Why do you think people use the products they use? Well, what's been your experience when you've asked clients, like, why do you use that one?
A lot of times it's something they've either used for a long time. It's friend recommendations and stylist recommendations, stuff like that. It's probably, unfortunately, not stylist recommendations as much as it should be. The hair, like when I say hair care, it's not just hair care, but like the cosmetics side of our business, which is skin care, hair care, etc. It's over a $50 billion a year industry in the US, right? And the crazy part is only about 10% of that is sold by professional stylists, because most people are like, their stylists don't talk about it, but then they're like, oh, I need shampoo, I need something to style my hair. And I forget the exact percentage, but it's like 80+% of people, after they visited their stylist, buy product within 36 hours. And the only reason they didn't buy it from their stylist usually is because their stylist never talked about it. And so they're going to the grocery store, they're going to Walmart or Walgreens, or Ulta's a big one, that Ulta carries professional lines. That like the reason Ulta exists is because hairstylists don't talk about product. So basically, it really is. It's the whole reason they exist is because professional stylists don't talk about the home care part of what they're doing.
Yeah.
And so the client leaves, and then they go to a store, and they're hoping to get the right product for them.
Let's talk about some specific language that stylists can use to sell more product that doesn't make them sound salesy. So you said have a conversation during the consultation. I think that during the appointment, if you will, like, I think that is key, because too many times, I know people have tried to sell product to me and it's an afterthought. It's a, we did that. Okay. Do you want anything over here? I'm like, no, like, what? No, we're done. Like, you missed your window.
Yeah,
so a way to weave that in is to ask questions about open-ended questions, and with genuine curiosity. And I think, again, a lot of people listen to the show or in school or just out of school is, tell me about your routine at home for your hair.
Mm-hmm.
No judgment. I just, want to just curious. What do you do? And then say, okay, interesting. Tell me more about why did you choose that one? Or what do you like about it? Anything you don't like about it? It's like, well, I love the smell, but it doesn't do a great job for me, but I like the smell. Or it does a great job, but I wish it did this. Or I have a product that I use, Nathan, as an aftershave that got discontinued. And I went on eBay and bought more, because they were you know what I'm saying? And I wish I would have bought 20 bottles,
Yeah.
And it's, sometimes people go, oh, I had this one and I really liked it. Like, people will talk about what they bought and why, because they're just talking about themselves. It's an easy conversation to have, right?
Absolutely.
Do you think that would be an effective way to gain information and then be able to make a recommendation?
Absolutely. And I think you kind of nailed it. It's really about getting them to talk about what they do at home, what works for them, what's not working, because there may be a gap. It might be they're using something that works pretty well, but it's not doing everything they need. And you might have a solution, right? And because then you're solving their problems, you're not selling, right? You're solving their problem. And so having those discussions, and talking about what works and what doesn't is probably the first step. Another one is, when you're using product on them, show them how much you use and how you're using it, right? A lot of people don't know how much to use, or they're just misusing it, how they're applying it.
100%. Yeah.
I've seen so many times, where like it's a product that's a volumizer for the root at the, towards the scalp, and they're spraying it through all the hair and the ends and everything. It's like, well, it's everywhere else is just kind of a waste, or or something like that, right? And
Yeah.
or,
It's like throwing seeds out instead of putting them in the dirt. It's like,
Exactly.
those go in the dirt, right? It's
Yeah.
like, oh, I was wondering why they weren't growing,
Yep.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
just again, being an educator, it also helps with your retention of clients. Clients want to feel like they're getting more value, and if you're educating them on what's going to work for them and what doesn't, you have just also increased the likelihood they're going to come back to you, because they're going to look at you more professionally than someone that just does the service and you know moves on to the next.
I think another benefit of educating a client, getting them and have the right product in their hands that's going to help them, continue to experience the same level of satisfaction as when they walked out of the salon. That result, everybody gets a service wants to look that way again and again and again and again until it's too unruly and they have to go back and get it redone. But people want that. And another way I think you could approach it is to say, Mary is your client. Mary, are you ever frustrated that your hair never looks as good as it does right after you get it service, again, until you get it serviced again? Yeah, that's frustrating. I would love to show you some options that will help you get that look more consistently without having to come back here.
Yeah,
So that what that really sounds like is you're saving the money, right?
exactly.
And maybe you are in some ways, but what that really is saying is, I want to give you something that you want, and you want to have this look more often, and here's how you can do that. And the answer is in this bottle, right? The answer is this bottle plus this bottle, and I love that mentality and that method of education. And I think when you say to someone, I'm going to now use two products, this one by this company, this one by this company, and let me tell you what they're for, and then how to use them. If you buy them or not, that's up to you. And this is sort of the sell without selling, is if you say something like, whether you buy them or not, I'm indifferent. I think it'll help, but maybe today's not today. That's sort of like, oh, no, why wouldn't I buy them, right? Like, it's a very, very soft, almost like I'm indifferent. But then you say, but here's what it will do for you. And then you tell them what it'll do. And you're like, I'm not trying to because sometimes people have to take the pressure away, because the minute you suggest something, you were recently in Nashville. I have a funny story about being pressured and in the Nashville airport, where as a consumer, I was so ready for someone to pressure me. I messed up and I missed an opportunity. And I went to go get a rental car, and it was one of those rental car places where, you can kind of pick any car in the whole row. Well, they only had one car, and it was nicer than the one I had reserved. And the kid who worked there didn't want to go 15 minutes out to their lot on the other end of the airport and go get my car. He just said, hey, do you want this car? And I was like, no, I don't want that car. I want my car I reserved, because I was ready for them to like upsell me. And he's like, all right, man, that's fine. Well, this was like 12 years ago. The car I had, Nathan, it had like roll up windows. And like, I was like, I didn't know they made it anymore. And the reason that's a funny story to me is like, I should have just been more open to, like, sometimes people are selling you something because it's better for you.
Yeah,
And I think that's the mentality that you need to have from the sales perspective, is sell because it's better for them. Right.
absolutely.
And as long as you have that mentality, then you can have creative conversations like, tell me about your routine. And then here's the other thing that I think is really powerful. Every time they use the product that Nathan suggested they use, they're going to think about Nathan. Every time they get that great look, they're going to think about you, the stylist that suggested it, right? And so it creates this cycle of success, right? So you win because you make some more money. They win because they get a great product. They win because the look is maintained, and then you both win because they're going to keep working with you. That means that they're going to get the service they want, and you're going to keep making a living from them. There's no downsides to it. There really aren't.
Yeah, I think that's where you hit the nail on the head. Is like, it's not about selling them for the sake of selling them. It's solving their issues, right? When you solve people's problems, that's what they come back for. It's like, and I know it sounds, it's like, oh, their hair is a problem. And it's not that they hate their hair, but their hair grows out and they need it redone, right? And so that's where the wherein the problem lies. So if you're solving their problems at home, so they get more longevity out of their hair color or hairstyle or whatever it is, by solving their problems, they're going to be more loyal to you. And so it's a win-win. It truly is. It's not selling them, it's solving problems.
Absolutely. I want to create one more word picture, and then I'll give you the last word, Nathan. Is, imagine if you pulled up to a gas station and you saw someone putting the wrong fuel in their car. Like, you would go, hey, hold on, stop. Like, that's the wrong fuel. First you would ruin your engine if you did that. So that would be really bad.
Yeah.
But maybe they pay for the more expensive one. You're like, you don't need to pay for that one. You should get this one. Or maybe they get the lower one. You're like, it's only 10 cents more, but this is way better for your car. Like, I have a car just like that, and you really should not put that in there. You should put that. It'll help you get better mileage. It'll help you avoid, engine issues. Da, da, da. Do you think that person is going to be like, what a jerk? How mean are you? No, they're going to be like, thank you. Yeah. Right? Sometimes people don't know they have the problem. It's right. Like, you're frustrated by this performance issue with your hair because you're not putting this product in. And so I want to help you not be frustrated anymore. So, and you find all that out by asking questions, but you have to have the mentality of, I'm here to serve people and help them have a great experience today and from today until I see them again. And that involves product. I think product really can be an awesome bridge for that customer service experience, that they'll think of you and be grateful for you every day, because every day they're going to use that product, or most days. Yeah. So Nathan, what's your last bit of encouragement for those who maybe are hesitant or just haven't really made product a really core part of their stylist business?
I think the last word I'd say on that is just kind of to the point of, like, when you're actually concerned about taking care of the client's needs, part of that is going to be prescribing them products that are going to help them, right? And just like a doctor would prescribe you the right thing if you're sick, it's like, if you're prescribing something that's going to help them, it's an act of service more than a sales thing, right? And by doing that, you're serving their needs. They came to you for a reason, is they wanted to get something done with their hair. They probably want it to last as long as possible or have the best result time and time again. And the way you do that is by offering them solutions that are going to, make it more replicable when they're at home. They're going to be, maybe they won't replicate exactly how you did it, but they're going to be a lot more consistent with it if they have the right tools. So
yeah, that's great. That's great. That's it. Well, thank you, Nathan. And if you are listening to the show and you're interested in cosmetology as a career, then I want you to download the guide, which includes great video conversations and questions, Q&As between myself and really the head of the admissions for Nathan's schools, that will answer a lot of those burning questions, behind the scenes views that will help you make a more informed decision about if you should be getting into the industry and how to choose the right school for that. So make sure you download that using our show notes. And as always, Nathan, thanks for your time. I appreciate it.
Likewise. Thanks, Andy.